From the shining domicile that is Pittsburgh Comics, my old mannered comic shop owner, Colin McMahon, transforms into the world's greatest comic book talking TV host. Join us, true believers, for Comics Now!
Hey everybody, welcome to Comics Now for October 2020. We're heading into the end of the year. This is the busy time for most retail as we're gearing up for the holidays. Starting to cool off. It's always my favorite time of year because October is my birthday month. And I just love the cool. I was in marching band in high school and I just always associate October with marching festivals and football games. And just, I love that chill in the morning. So yeah, it's just my favorite time of year. And the publishers have really come through. Some of them, like Dark Horse, have really been slowly putting out books, really slowly. I'm not sure why, if they got at the end of the print queue or whatever happened there, but everybody seems to be really gearing up for October. Lots of really good books coming out. Just volume is really big this year, which is really good. So I love having lots of stuff to sell, lots of things to introduce you to, all sorts of neat stuff. I'm going to do double points on horror comics. That's kind of a yearly tradition. Tim made a great display of some of his favorite horror graphic novels. So come on in. There's always lots of horror books, and they always come out with more every year, which is fun. I'm not doing book club yet. I'm still not sure if we should get 20 people together around a table. Doesn't seem like a good idea, especially laughing, talking, and eating. So we're holding off still on book club, probably until the beginning of the year. So I have a lot of books. I have a lot of plans. Slowly coming up with lots of good ideas for that. So once we do start, there's going to be a flood, but still holding off just to make sure everything's safe. I don't want to be a super spreader event. So of all the publishers that have stuff going on, Marvel seems to be the biggest one as far as big event splash stuff. So we're going to start with Marvel and tell you about what they have coming out in October. So starting off, we got the first two parts of Ten of Swords. I did find out it's actually Ten of Swords, not X of Swords. And it's continuing on. We're getting parts 3 through 11 in October, so it's really gearing up. We're getting to the halfway point already in October. Starting off in Wolverine 6 is part 3, and it's Descent, Penance, a legendary power reclaimed. Now, part 4 is an X-Force 13. Description is Stealth, the Power Within, and the Burden of Knowledge. Part 5 is in Marauders 13, which gives us a secret flight, a long journey, and a thief and a queen. Part 6 is in Hellions number 5. Desperation, help from unexpected places, and an advance into the unknown. Part 7 is in New Mutants 13, Diligence, Discipline, a sword of the self. Part 8 is in Cable 5, a hand held aloft, a mystery in the stars, and ace up the sleeve. Excalibur 13 is part 9 with Opposition, Despair, the Dark Night of the Soul. X-Men 13 gives us part 10, which is Lessons, Longing, and What Has Begun Cannot Be Undone. And then we're getting to the pause in the middle, which is X of Swords Stasis number 1, which is part 11. A ritual, a parliament, a game begins. So a lot of setting up. If you've read, I only read the first part so far, but it's definitely putting a lot of things going on. A lot of people are going to be involved, and it's going to have big consequences for the mutants in the universe and all that fun stuff. Now back to the regular Marvel universe. Last month I talked about Spider-Man 49, which is actually $8.50, and it's a big Return of the Green Goblin book, big $10 thick chunky book that's coming out. Well, it's slipped to October. So October we actually get two really special Spider-Man books. We're still getting 49, which is $8.50, and then we're also getting number 50, which is kicking off the Last Remain storyline. Now, this story is so big that they actually had to add issues to the Spider-Man series. So we're getting Spider-Man 50, and then we're getting Spider-Man 50.LR for Last Remains, which is including the other Spider family characters. So Amazing Spider-Man is going to have the Spider-Man story, and then the LR issues are going to be Miles Morales and Black Cat and Spider-Gwen and those characters. So the story starting off with number 50, What Last Remains is, Kindred, who's a new bad guy, is stepping out on the stage for the first time, and Spider-Man is not ready for the havoc that Kindred is going to let loose. So it's going to be a big story, doubling up the issues. It's going to be crazy. There's also a Spider-Man Marvel snapshot. They've been doing this where it's just like a little glimpse into the character. And this one is told from the point of view of a henchman, a guy who's like basically for hire for Electro or Doc Ock or whoever, and he just, takes his beatings, but he makes his money. And it's just kind of looking at Spider-Man from his point of view. Also in the Spider world, we're getting Spider-Woman 100. I know, the series just started. I don't know what happened. Actually, it's just issue 5. But in the grand scheme of things, it's the 100th issue of Spider-Woman. So that's getting a bunch of extra covers and all sorts of stuff there. And the story in this one is, as her own body turns against her, and with her enemy so close to home, can Jessica hold herself together in time to save everyone? An unmissable blockbuster 100th issue, with all the stops pulled and no punches pulled. Warhammer, which is a long-time tabletop game, and they've done books and things like that, is coming out with a book written by Kieran Gillen and drawn by Jason Burrows. So if you're a fan of that, should be a good one. Fantastic Four 25, there being an anniversary issue, so to speak, is kicking off and is making a lot of changes to the Fantastic Four world. There shall be a reckoning, a new era for the Fantastic Four. This issue has it all. New artists, new villains, new uniforms. And now, major permanent status quo change. Who is the helmsman? Is he here to save our reality or destroy it? So probably a good place to jump on if you're a Fantastic Four fan or if you've been wanting to get in. It's also Black Widow month. The movie was supposed to have come out, a while back, like last May, and so they had a lot of plans for a lot of Black Widow stuff, and with the movie continually being delayed, they just kind of said, well, we're just going ahead. So they're doing the True Believers, which are the dollar reprint issues, and it's all focused on Black Widow this month. We're getting a reprint of her first appearance that was in Tales of Suspense 52 and 53. The Red Guardian, her team up with Daredevil in issue 81. Team up with Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man 86. Solo adventures that carried in Amazing Adventures book in the 70s. Issues 1 and 2 are being reprinted. Dark Star is from Champion 7, her first time in the Avengers in issue 111. Taskmaster's first appearance, who's the bad guy in the movie, in Avengers 196. Yelena Belova, who was a second Black Widow for a little while in the late 90s, in Black Widow 1, and then a team up with The Thing in Marvel 2 and 1. We're also getting a facsimile edition of a Marvel Fanfare issue that she did back in the 80s. She's also getting a one-shot called Widow's Sting, which is her being tasked by S.H.I.E.L.D. to go infiltrate the Mafia. Also, because it's October and it's horror month, Marvel is in the middle of their Marvel Zombies Resurrection. They're doing one of their big reprint books, one of their Marvel Tales, and it's Marvel Zombies, and it's collecting the 3 issues of Ultimate Fantastic Four where the Marvel Zombies started, and also Marvel Zombies #1. So that's a nice big chunky bout of Marvel Zombies for you. Also, Werewolf by Night is coming out. It's Marvel's favorite werewolf, and they're getting a mini-series. Web of Venom Empire's End is kickstarting the whole Null, the King in Black storyline, which is going to be coming up next month in a Venom, but we're getting a little tease, and this is where Null's domain begins. Champions, they'd been teasing this for a while. A while back, Congress passed a law preventing teenagers from being superheroes, and the Champions, which is Ms. Marvel and Kid Nova, and I think it was Kid Cyclops. I don't think he still exists. And Miles Morales kind of it made them not be able to be out in public. So they're doing this whole storyline with that, going through their books, and also a new Champions #1, which is going to kick that off. So those are the biggies coming from Marvel. A lot of the other books are just next issue, continuing their storyline type things. So now let's go to DC. DC has some really big things starting. American Vampire 1976. This is Scott Snyder. This was his first foray into comics, was American Vampire. And this is now the last arc that he's going to do. In a decade of political scandal and social unrest, Skinner Sweet returns for one last chance at redemption, if he can reconcile with Pearl Jones. It's the final American Vampire tale. Also, Tom King is coming out with a new Rorschach miniseries in under the Black Label imprint. So 35 years after the end of Watchmen, he's back. But is this the real Rorschach, and why is he trying to change the course of history? If you've been following Batman at all, we know Joker War has been going on. Joker has taken Bruce Wayne's fortune and is trying to take over Gotham, and the finale is in issue 100 that comes out. Batman battles the Joker in a brutal, no-holds-barred duel. In Aftermath, Batman 101 is the Aftermath title. A bold new direction for Batman begins as Bruce Wayne's circumstances are forever changed. Forever. And then there's some Fallout books that run through Detective 128 and 129. Batgirl number 50 is the last issue, where it's going to wrap up with Batgirl having to make some tough decisions. Also cross Fallout book is Catwoman 26 and Nightwing 75, where Nightwing is back. Back in Batman 50, Nightwing was shot in the head by KG Beast and lost his memories and was no longer Nightwing since then. And now he's finally put everything back together, put his life back together, and in 75 he returns to being Nightwing. Batman White Knight is back. This is the Sean Murphy storylines that we've had two miniseries of. Now we're getting a new one focusing on Harley Quinn, where she's finding her place. Batman, not to give everything away, but Batman's in jail and the Joker no longer is. And Harley has to figure out what she's going to do raising the twin children of Jack Napier, as there's a power void now with these big players gone and people are trying to take advantage, and she has to keep them at bay. And then there's a couple Halloween books. DC always likes to do big Halloween specials, and there's one, the DC The Doomed and the Damned, which is just a little anthology book, and then Legend of the Swamp Thing Halloween Special, which is a Halloween book focusing on Swamp Thing, so if you're a fan. We get Dark Knight's Death Metal 4 this month, and then we get a couple more tie-ins with that. A couple one-shots. We have Rise of the New God, which is a battle between Perpetua, who started everything, and the Batman Who Laughs, who is now the Darkest Knight, after some changes to him. So they're going to be battling it out. And also Robin King, who has been the main Robin, who is now taken over. With a utility belt filled to the brim with weapons designed to kill every hero in the DC universe, Robin King is the most sadistic soldier in the Darkest Knight evil army. Can anyone stop him from laying waste to Earth's last line of defense? So that's big. Also, Death Metal is going through Justice League 54 and 55. A couple books are ending in October. Batman the Outsiders ends with number 17, and Justice League Odyssey ends with issue 25. Flash 763 is starting a new creative team. Josh Williamson's big run ended, and now Kevin Shinnick and Clayton Henry are taking over, and their first storyline is the secret origin of Flash's ring. And Wonder Woman, because the movie was supposed to come out, DC was doing all these Wonder Woman variants that aren't happening right now, but they still had a facsimile edition of number 1 from 1987. This was the George Perez run, and so they're getting a facsimile edition of that one to see. So now moving on to Image. Normally Image has one or two things. That's how it's been lately as I talk about them. This month they have a bunch of new stuff coming. The Scumbag, which is fun only because it's Rick Remender, who has a real good run. He does a lot of really good books. Things like Low, Seven to Eternity. He's been around for a good while. But basically, the fate of the world rests in the hands of the worst person on it. Basically, the wrong guy got the super soldier serum. And he's... now he's charged with saving the world, and he's not the best guy. Walking Dead Deluxe. They're reprinting the series in color. So they've colored everything, and now they're putting them out again. I'm not sure how long this is going to go. I doubt they're going to get all 193 issues, but they might. But I know a lot of people are going to be interested in getting these first issues with all the first appearances and stuff, and in color. Commanders in Crisis. This is from Steve Orlando. And basically a book where in the multiverse, the last survivors are superheroes from all different worlds, have come to Earth and are kind of living in hiding to protect the Earth as bad things are happening. Getting It Together. This is kind of a little slice of life one from Sina Grace and Omar Spahi. I know Omar, so I wanted to point this one out. But it's basically a friend story for contemporary times. So if you don't don't necessarily like the superhero stuff, here's a nice, real life kind of one. Blue and Green original graphic novel. I'm excited about this. Ram V, who I've talked about with These Savage Shores, has done one, and it's about a dark, haunting portrayal of a young musician's pursuit of creative genius, the monstrous nature of which threatens to consume him as it did his predecessor half a century before. I like the title Blue and Green is, that's a track on Miles Davis's Kind of Blue album, one of my favorite albums. So when I saw the title, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. And I've seen some of the art. It's really beautiful. Another original graphic novel they're doing is called Planet Paradise. This is Jesse Lonergan. To survive after a crash landing on an alien planet, a vacationer must battle against a hostile environment, killer lizards, corporate bureaucracy, and the pessimism of her sole companion, the drug-addled captain of the ship. And then a couple books have new story arcs starting, so if you're looking to jump in, or if you've tried the graphic novel, now you can jump on the issues. Both Family Tree, Nailbiter Returns, and Tartarus all have new story arcs beginning. Dark Horse is back, and I'm excited. They have a lot of really neat books coming. First one is Norse Mythology. This is Neil Gaiman wrote a book about Norse mythology and all the history, and just in his style to make it really accessible. And now they're doing a comic series of it with some great art. You have P. Craig Russell, Mike Mignola, and Jerry Ordway doing the art on this first issue. And he's going to breathe new life into the ancient Norse stories by taking readers through the creation of the 9 worlds to the epic origin adventures of Thor, Odin, and Loki, all the way to the end of life in Ragnarok. So this should be educational, but also hopefully very entertaining. True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys National Anthem. This is Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance, and this is based on their album. There was a previous series to this, and this is the follow-up. He also wrote Umbrella Academy, so there's lots of stuff going on here. But if you're a fan, I know the fans just ate up the True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys, so I hope they'll be back for this. Black Hammer is continuing by Jeff Lemire, doing a Colonel Weird Cosmogog, along with Tyler Crook doing the art. He did Harrow County, really good art, and just the next story in the Black Hammer world. Stranger Things is giving us a Halloween special. Assassin's Creed has a new series coming, if you're a fan of that. And The Seeds is finally coming out as a graphic novel. This was the very first, I think, of the Berger books, where Karen Berger, who created Vertigo, went to Dark Horse to kind of curate a line for them. And something happened with this. It's Ann Nocenti and David Aja who did Hawkeye. And I think the first 2 issues came out, and then it kind of just went away. I'm not sure the exact story, but it's finally done, and they're putting it out as a graphic novel. And in a broken down world, a rebellious group of ruthless romantics have fled a tech-obsessed society to create their own. And they come to Earth to gather the seeds to create their new society. IDW, as always, has some interesting stuff coming out. They have a team-up book that at first I went, what? But when I looked at it, it made a little more sense. It's Transformers Back to the Future, which I went, this makes no sense. But the time machine has attracted the attention of the Decepticons. So that kind of makes sense. We'll see where that goes. There's a new Dungeons & Dragons series coming at the Spine of the World. And in the kids line, the Marvel Action line, they're doing a Chiller series, which will be 1 a week. And it's basically putting the Marvel heroes in a spooky setting. But this is for kids, but still something nice to have at Halloween time. They're also doing a team up with DC. They're doing Lock and Key and the Sandman. So that's going to be coming. This is a 0 issue coming out in October, which is reintroducing people to the Locke family. They've done a couple one-shots and things. They're doing one currently right now that takes place in World War I. But this is just kind of a little setup to introduce you back to the current Locke family and also explain how Sandman ties in. There's one from Nick Roche called Scarenthood. And basically, what if you're a parent but you also fight monsters? How do you deal with that and keep your priorities straight? And basically, their to-do list: drop kids at preschool, grab coffee with other parents, go ghost hunting in the woods, fight demonic entities, collect the kids, nap time. What scares you the most, fighting demons or letting your kids down? So that should be fun. Dynamite only has one new #1, but it's called Die-Numite with a big exclamation point after the beginning. And it's written by Declan Shalvey, but it's going to incorporate all their characters. In hell, an evil emerges. On 1930s Earth, a nefarious danger threatens the globe. In the dead of space, Vampirella is desperate to uncover a dark mystery. So it's just going to be a fun little Halloween creepy story. Boom, most of their line is just continuing, but they do have one real big one, which is Dune House Atreides. And this is a prequel to the novel, and this was a prequel novel written by the son of Frank Herbert, Brian Herbert, and he's adapting his novel for comics. So with the movie coming, I think this one is going to be a huge, huge book. Aftershock has some interesting ones. They have one from Steve Orlando called Kill a Man, about a mixed martial arts fighter who gets outed at his big champion press conference and has to try to put his life back together. We Live is a new series. The Earth has been racked by calamities and is crawling with monsters. The last remaining humans face a dangerous existence, but a message has arrived from deep space saying they will rescue 5,000 children. Can Hototo make it to safety and get to the ship? And Sympathy for No Devils. Winston Wallace is the last human in a world that has been taken over by monsters. And he's a private investigator and he works for the monsters to find things. Unbeknownst to them, he has a curse which gives him good luck. And is he able to solve this mystery before they find out that he has this curse and take him out? Ahoy is back with some new books. There's Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of Blood, which is basically series 3 of this, which is just a little anthology book of fun horror stories. And then Penultiman. This was they did a book a while back, cage match books, where there were 3 stories and people voted for which one they wanted to go. And they decided to do them all, and Penultiman was one of them, where he's basically Superman, but with lack of confidence. So the next to last stage of human evolution is the greatest looking and most admired superhero in the world. So how can he stop hating himself? His android understudy, Anti-Penultiman, thinks he knows the answer. Also, Captain Ginger Volume 2 is coming out in graphic novel. We here loved Captain Ginger. Everybody loved it. And then when Series 2 started, we only got 2 issues in before they canceled it and only did it digitally. So by putting it out in the graphic novel, this is the only way most of my people are going to be able to read it. So I'm looking forward to this. They introduced dogs into the Captain Ginger universe of cats in space. Albatross has some fun stuff going on. This is Eric Powell, who's insane and does the Goon books, and this is his line. He's gotten the license to Tank Girl, so he has a new book series coming out called King Tank Girl, bringing back one of the co-creators to actually write it, so this should be good. And then La Diabla #1. Who is she? A vigilante, a phantom, a beast straight from hell? I love the solicit for this, which basically riffs on a line from the original Mad Max movie, and so I just wanted to give a shout out to him for that because I greatly enjoyed that. Archie is doing a Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Presents Madam Satan. This is written by Elliot Rahal. It's just a one-shot about Madam Satan. It's just nice getting something from this line again. AWA has done a bunch of books: Resistance, Hotel, Year Zero, Red Border, Archangel 8. Their first line of graphic novels are coming out this October, and it's really neat. They've been really well received. My customers have really gobbled them up, and interestingly, most of the people that get them have gotten all of them, which doesn't happen a lot. Normally, I've only seen that with Valiant, where people will get the entire line. So, and everybody has really enjoyed these. The nice thing is they're coming out with the graphic novels that are only $9.99. So it's a real good first step towards introducing their product to people. So I will have big stacks of this. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really impressed by the whole company so far. They do also have a new one coming out called American Ronin. It's by Peter Milligan, who did X-Force, X-Statix, Shade the Changing Man, all sorts of stuff. But war is over, democracy is an illusion, real power now lies not with the nation states, but with huge corporations engaged in a silent war for global domination. Their number one weapon, highly skilled, technologically enhanced operatives trained since childhood to pledge their allegiance to the corporate flag. But what happens when one goes rogue? So Heavy Metal magazine's been around forever. They're getting into comics, and they're really expanding a comic line, and they had one that really jumped out at me for October. It's called Cold Dead War, and this is written by the son of George Romero, and it's a sequel to a short that was in the original Heavy Metal movie called B-17, and I think was directed by George Romero. And basically, a freak occurrence reanimates an island of freshly killed soldiers in the wake of the Battle of Midway. So, and they keep fighting as undead. Mad Cave has been doing a lot of books, and they had one that I thought was interesting. Hollywood Trash, where the Privy Council is the most exclusive club headed by the entertainment industry's top mogul, a ruthless executive who enlists his famous underlings to kill people who stole from him. In this case, just happens to be 2 local garbage men. Oni Press has one called The Vein. I think this, and this is about 1941 Chicago and vampires who have to rob blood banks to keep their blood supply. Also, Rick and Morty Ever After. Rick and Morty have gone into a book of fairy tales, but not the nice, friendly fairy tales, the old grim fairy tales, the dark and ruthless ones. Scout has one that sounded very familiar, where it's Thompson Heller, Detective Interstellar, where he is a private detective who travels the stars solving cases that have political intrigue. And then there's Vault. Vault has been doing some absolutely amazing stuff. Autumnal came out in September, which was a really good horror story. Really impressed with that. And I've been impressed with them all the way along. They're the ones that did These Savage Shores, so they have an in my book. They have a couple new ones coming out. The Devil's Red Bride, which is set in 16th century Japan, where the Red Devil was the leader. He'd put on a red mask and lead his troops, and after he fell, it was up to his daughter to continue the safety of the community. And then Giga #1. Now, they are really, really, really pushing this book hard. So luckily, they are kind enough to us retailers to make the books returnable so that we can order up and have enough on the shelves and not worry about selling out and not take a financial hit. And they're really pushing this Giga #1. And it's a little long, but it sounds really interesting. Nobody knows why the skyscraper-sized mechs known as Giga fought their bitter country's long war. All they know is that when the fighting finally stopped, the dormant Giga became humanity's new habitat and new gods in one. When a disgraced engineer finds an apparently murdered Giga, his society and the fascistic, tech-centered religious order that controls it are rapidly thrown into chaos. So just think, the giant, what are they, Gundams type things. It's about those. And the one has a Shogun Warrior homage cover. So that's the books that are coming out. There's still tons of other stuff coming. This is mostly just the #1s, or the ones I really wanted to spotlight. But October looks to be a really good month. Lots of good stuff to read. I always like when it gets a little cool, get on the sofa under a blanket and a stack of comics to read, and that's a perfect day in my book. So we're doing horror, double points on all horror graphic novels all month long. Book club is on hold for a little bit. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. The website's pittsburghcomics.com. Facebook is Pittsburgh Comics. Twitter and Instagram are PGH Comics. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for Comics Previews Theater. See ya.
There was a time when you were like a son to me, Peter. The son I never had. My chance for a legacy. Of course, so much has come between us since then, hasn't it? And our burgeoning familial love turned to hate.
Liar!
How long have we tormented one another? I call you a fool. You call me a madman. I kill someone you love? You lock me away in a place like this. It's a vicious cycle. One I certainly never believed would end.
Don't trust him.
But these are extraordinary and dangerous times, Peter. We must change our habits in the face of them. You and I both know. He's coming. Kindred shadow falls over all this. And before we can even begin to deal with him...
Monster!
There's what waits below. It isn't a choice at all, is it?
Shut up!
You know what must be done.
I won't do it.
To save your city?
I won't let you.
To save everyone and everything you love.
Stop. Please. I can't let this happen.